My name is Arlene. I'm standing in the middle of my sister's engagement party, the room hushed as if someone hit the mute button. My mother is across the room, her face a palette of shock and embarrassment, trying desperately to string words together but failing miserably. Griffin, a man I've known for years, catches my eye and gives me a subtle nod. It's a look that says, I've got your back. How did we get here? Let me take you back. I come from a well-to-do family in the suburbs. My father is a traditional corporate lawyer, always dressed in a sharp suit, and my mother is a social butterfly who thrives on hosting parties and being part of the high society scene. My younger sister, Lily, is 25 and just got engaged to a young heir from a prominent family. The engagement party was supposed to be the talk of the town. A week before the big day, my mother called me. Her tone was not one of a request but of a command. Arlene, cancel whatever you have planned. The caterer bailed on us, and we need everyone to step up. Since you work from home, you'll handle the kitchen. I run a successful e-commerce consultancy that brings in over $150,000 a year. But to my mother, my job didn't count as real work because I didn't sit in an office from 9 to 5. I could have said no right then, but I didn't. I packed a duffel bag and my laptop, although I knew I wouldn't have time to open it. I drove 2.5 hours to my parents' palatial house. Friday night was all about food prep. I was up at the crack of dawn, chopping mountains of vegetables for a sit-down dinner that would serve 60 guests over the weekend. Meanwhile, Lily was in the next room at a fancy beauty salon set up just for her, getting her hair and makeup done to perfection. My mother, in a designer cocktail dress, flitted around the house, greeting decorators and guests who stopped by early, acting as if she hadn't been the one shoving a to-do list in my face for the past days. By Saturday afternoon, my hands were raw from scrubbing dishes and handling all the food. My back was killing me from bending over trays of appetizers. The guests started pouring in, my parents' old friends from the country club, Lily's colleagues from her high-profile job at a fashion label, and people I'd never seen before. Everyone was raving about the food, the elegant centerpieces, and the perfectly folded napkins. They had no idea that the person who had put it all together was standing in the kitchen doorway, sweating through my plain cotton blouse, hidden behind an apron. I've never minded being useful. But being invisible? That stung. At around 6 p.m. With trays of food still waiting to go out and the dishwasher filled to the brim for the third time, I spotted my mother near the bar, surrounded by her snooty friends, each with a glass of expensive champagne in hand. I approached her as calmly as I could and said, "Mom, could someone take over for 20 minutes? I just need a short break to catch my breath." She looked at me as if I was a stain on her precious carpet that she had to decide whether to ignore or clean up. And then, she let out a laugh. A real, cruel laugh. "You're the only one without a proper job, Arlene. You should be lucky you can help out here." Her words were like a slap in the face, loud enough to make the conversations around us come to a sudden halt. I saw my aunt's eyes widen in surprise, and I felt my cheeks burn with humiliation. For a moment, I was on the verge of either breaking down in tears or saying something I'd regret. But I took a deep breath, smiled, and gently placed the tray I was holding on the bar. I untied my apron, folded it neatly, and laid it on the back of a chair. Then I walked out through the side door, past the twinkling string lights and the long row of luxury cars in the driveway. I got into my car without looking back. I knew my mother probably thought I'd come back after cooling off for a bit. After all, I'd always caved in at family events for the past 12 years. But this time, as soon as I sat in the driver's seat, I took out my phone and made a call. I didn't call my boyfriend or a close friend. I called Griffin, a man my mother had barely given a second thought about. Griffin owns a large manufacturing company. 3 years ago, his business was on the brink of bankruptcy, about to lay off hundreds of employees. I stepped in and spent 16 months crafting a new digital marketing and distribution strategy for him. Not only did his company survive, but it became a major player in the regional market, saving over 400 jobs. He had always respected my work and told me on multiple occasions that I was a lifesaver for his employees and their families. What my mother didn't know, because she never bothered to find out, was that Griffin's son had been dating Lily for the past 9 months. I drove to a nearby coffee shop parking lot. My hands were shaking, a mix of anger and a strange sense of relief. It was like finally taking off a heavy backpack after a long hike. 40 minutes later, my phone rang. It was Lily. She never calls during a party, so I almost let it go to voicemail. But then I saw she'd called twice in quick succession. I answered, and before I could say a word, her voice came through, crackling with shock. "Who did you call?" "Mom just saw him and she looks like she's seen a ghost." I asked her to calm down and tell me what was happening. She took a deep breath and said, "Griffin Thompson just walked in the front door asking for you." And Mom looked like she was about to faint. According to Lily, Griffin walked in, scanned the room, and his first words were, "Where's Arlene?" I was told she's been running this kitchen on her own, and I wanted to thank her personally. My mother, true to form, let out that same brittle laugh and dismissed me, saying I'd just stepped out for a moment. That's when Griffin dropped a bombshell. He asked, right in front of everyone, why the woman who had single-handedly turned his failing business into a success was stuck in the kitchen cleaning pans instead of being recognized for her achievements. His words were a wake-up call to everyone in the room, especially my mother, who had spent years underestimating me. I heard that my mother's face turned white as a sheet, then red with embarrassment. She started babbling, trying to backtrack and say how proud she was of me and how she knew about my work, but it only made things worse. My aunt repeated my mother's earlier cruel words, loud enough for everyone to hear. Even my father, who usually stayed quiet at these events, told my mother to stop talking before she dug herself a deeper hole. I decided to drive back. It wasn't because I needed an apology or wanted someone to defend me. It was Lily's night, and I didn't want my mother's humiliation to overshadow her engagement. When I walked back into the room, it fell silent. This time, the silence was different. It was filled with respect and a new understanding. My mother rushed towards me before I could even take off my coat. She opened her mouth several times, trying to say something, but nothing came out. Griffin gave me that nod again, and I picked up a glass of champagne someone offered me. I found Lily, and we spent the rest of the night enjoying the party, right where I should have been from the start. For the rest of the evening, my mother kept stealing glances at me, but for once, she didn't utter a single word about my job. Sometimes, it takes an outsider to make your own family see the truth about you. If you've ever felt underestimated by your family, you know how that moment of quiet validation can feel like a warm embrace. So, if this story resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe because there are more stories like this one coming up.